Hi, Matty.
Hi, Ryan.
What's up, man?
Hi, Ryan.
How are you?
Okay.
Welcome to the show.
Good. Thank you. Good to be here.
Good to be here in your office. So, Matty, I was thinking how I know you. I know you for a lot of years.
Yes.
Do you remember how we met? I don't remember.
We might have accidentally met in one of the startup offices that we used to hang around
I think even before.
Yeah.
I remember even before, I used to write a blog in Hebrew, and I remember one time I was going to work and I met you on the bicycle, and you told me before I had kids, you think you can write a blog every week? Wait till you have kids.
I'm known for motivating people.
Yeah, then I got kids and started doing a video on YouTube every day just to show you I can do it. So, we're gonna
5 kids later.
Yeah, can still do it. So, we'll be talking about chatbots, AI, all of that. But I want to kids as well. Yeah, okay. Designing with kids. But I would love to know how you got into design, how you got started in design in general.
Oh, I'm not a designer originally. I'm an engineer.
Okay.
I studied engineering, industrial engineering. But somehow, in my second or third year, I just had to, as an exercise, I had to do something in 3D, to submit one of the exercises in 3D. And I used one of the 3D animation applications that was up there. It was in the mid-90s. And I said, wow, this is so much nicer than what I'm doing, so much nicer than calculus and engineering. And so I started doing it like a side job. And when I graduated...
What program was that? 3D Max?
It was before 3D Max. It was
okay.
3D... what was it? I think it was called 3D Studio maybe.
Okay,
or
3D Studio.
The same one. It was working on DOS. Wasn't even Windows then. And it was so much nicer. I really liked it. It was something I could see, wow, if I could make this into a job, that would be the dream job, because I would be able to just do this all day long. So I started doing it just as a side job, in the nights and here and there.
While you were working as an engineer? Or?
Yeah,
okay.
Making a living. And no, then I was in the army, and
okay.
then 3 years. So when I was in the army, actually, I was doing it at nights because I had an office job in the army. I wasn't shooting anyone, so I had a lot of time to do animation. And I got a job. I was working at night. I was finishing my job and then going to somewhere to do small commercials and flying logos, stuff that you did in the 90s.
3D?
In 3D, yeah,
okay,
in 3D.
That's cool.
Then Flash came out. It was called the Future Splash. And I remember telling my friend, this will never catch, because it was a 300 kilobyte download. I said, nobody's going to download something 300 kilobytes. It will never catch. And it did caught on, so I started doing some Flash. I was very good at coding from much before that. I was actually working in coding, so Flash was a really nice combination. I think until today, it was a really good way of mixing coding and animation and design in one thing, and everybody would see the same thing. It could be compatible with everything. But that time is over. And then I flew to New York, I came back, the bubble burst. I came back
You worked there as a designer as well? Or
yeah, I was working in design all along.
You never really studied design? You just...
No, I never.
Yeah.
I really sucked at the beginning. I wasn't really good. Luckily, all the hard drives from that period were lost. So there's no evidence of what I was doing then. And so when the bubble burst, I went back to animation. So I was doing
what did you do during, before the bubble burst? Working with startups?
So I was working as designer, yeah. I was... One startup closed, and then the one I went to...
But you were doing, what, product design there? Or what kind of design?
Yeah, website design
okay.
back then. I think product design was only in its really beginning,
yeah,
so there was no name for that. Product design means that you're doing something physical, right? There's no website and Flash, and then when I came back, I went back. I did some broadcast work, a lot of animation again in After Effects, and I got tired of After Effects because being an After Effects artist means you are at the end of the chain. So all the crap from all the production is draining to your desk, everything that didn't work well, everybody said, okay, we'll fix it later in post. And then all the crap is coming to you. So, and then when you end your work, it's like water under the bridge. Everyone forgets what you did the day later. So even if it was your masterpiece or you sucked that day, nobody cares anymore. Like day after that, it's all gone. So I wanted to do something that stays for a few months with you.
All right. So what did you do?
So I went back to doing a website. So the company, Keshet, the broadcasting company, also had a big web division.
Right.
So I just went downstairs and I told them, I don't want to quit. I just want to switch floors, and I'll just come and do web design for you. And they said, no, we don't need any web designers right now. So I just went out to be freelance, and that turned out to be quite successful. Until I got tired again from doing websites and mainly handling the clients. I wasn't very good at that.
Were you working with startups as well, tech or
No,
anything?
it's like really doing really big. I was fortunate enough to get a job as the designer of Kalkalist. This is one of Israel's major financial newspapers. So I was in the in the team that really built everything from zero.
For the website, you mean?
For the website, yeah. But it was like a crazy website. All the stocks and all the financial stuff and news and everything on top of that, like hundreds and hundreds of pages to design. But after that I could get like really big freelance job because I had this under my belt now. So I was like there for like a few years, and then I started doing freelancing again.
One of the project that I know you from, I think initially was the posters website that you had, like 50 by 70.
Yeah, that's a good story. I was like really tired of handling clients, and sometimes you do like something, you say, oh, this is my masterpiece, and you present it, and it says, no, my son said that you should switch it to a different color. And I said, I met a friend in Rothschild Avenue, just in the street, and he said, hey, Matty, how are you doing? What's going on? And I said, this year is going to be my year without clients. I don't even know why I said it. It just came out when I met him. I just this is going to be the year without clients. And I said, okay, I have to build something on my own, and I will be judged on my job alone. Nobody is going to tell me do this or do that. Whatever I do, this is what will be outside. And this if it succeeds, then it means I was good. It means I was good. If it doesn't, then it means I'm a failure. But I will be making the shots. So we made me and my friend Mike, we made a poster shop. So we actually went to all the design graduates. People learn design for years, and they have tons of posters that they made, and it's just in the drawer. We said, just give us the PDFs. You're not doing anything with it anyway, and you're too lazy to sell it yourself. So just give it to us, and we'll sell it for you, and we'll give you like it was almost half of the money back for the designers.
So basically, it was an e-commerce website.
An e-commerce website for selling posters, and there was also a physical aspect because we had to also pack the posters and get them from the printers. Right? So it wasn't very successful financially, but I really, really liked it. I learned a lot about running a storefront and doing e-commerce.
What did you use for the e-commerce, by the way? It was
years
ago.
WooCommerce. WooCommerce just came out. It was so simple. I could do everything myself. I did the website, the commerce, everything was.
You did also the operations, like packing.
Yeah, that was the part that really sucked because we had an office. Half of the office was like made of cardboard, the stuff to pack the posters and like this one time Mike went to India for 2 months or 3 months, and I had to pack all the posters myself, and I said, oh my God, this is not what I signed up for. And I was stupid enough when he went, I was stupid enough to make like a sale and like a 20% off or something, and there was like tons of posters coming in, and I had to roll them all. And
is it still up, by the way?
Yeah, so we sold it actually.
Nice.
So the most important thing that I learned, if you want to open a poster shop in Israel, you have to have a storefront, a physical storefront.
Okay.
People want to see the posters. Like the posters were really, really nice. Like one time we went to the printer to bring the posters back, and we just took someone with us on a ride, and he bought all the posters that were in the car just because he saw them. We had to print them all over again. because when you see them, it's like a physical object. It's really, wow, it's really nice to see. When you see it on the internet, it's like, oh, okay, I don't know, yeah. So the guy who bought it, he actually has a storefront in Jaffa.
Right.
So he can actually put them on display and sell them. And we also printed, like, if you ordered one poster, we print it for you, right? One-on-one. No, he prints like, 500 of them anyway. So it takes a little bit of risk. But when you print 500, it only costs you like, the prices are totally different. So
right. That's an interesting experience. Like,
yeah, so if you open a store, you should be worried that you'll also be doing the packing, taking care of
but
the store.
It was always a side job, right?
No, this is what we did for 2 years.
Oh, really? Full time?
Yeah.
That's awesome. And you can sustain yourself doing it?
No, I couldn't. Lucky my wife was also working. Otherwise,
okay.
Otherwise, I would not have food for my kids.
Cool. So how do you get from doing posters shop into designing bots?
So eventually we closed it, and I met Lior and Eyal, who are my co-founders here, and they just needed a freelance designer. They said, look, we have this screen and we just need to make it nice, make it pretty. And I really, really loved the idea that they had. And I said,
what was the initial idea?
So they said, the initial idea was, this is 2014, the future, 4 years ago, right? And the initial idea was, this is about time that we send our calendars to book our meetings for us, right? Like, as a freelancer, this really rang a bell with me, because if I had to schedule with 2 different people, I would just say, look, just assume my calendar is empty, do what you need, I'll just come, whatever. Just don't make me do all the phone calls and all the email ping pong, just tell me when and I will arrive. And Eyal said, look, it's about time that we tell a computer, right? I'll tell my calendar, I want to meet Ran next week for coffee, and my calendar and your calendar will figure it out. And when he said it, it looked like totally doable, really easy, and we'll just write some code, and we'll do some screens, and we'll be... So, 4 years later, we know that it was really a naive approach to thinking that we can solve it so quickly. There's like... the world of scheduling is like, 5 different worlds, and every one of them is really complicated. But back then we didn't know that. We were really young and optimistic. And so I said, listen, this is a really good idea, and I really want this solved. So instead of taking me as a freelance, take me as a co-founder, and I will do all the screens for you. And I will do everything that's needed. And I'll also be the product manager. I'll do, like, we had one, Eyal was the guy doing the coding, and I was the one doing the product and design. And Leo was the CEO, and he would be in charge of, So you actually sold yourself into being a co-founder in the startup. Yeah, I really pushed myself into this. I just said, listen,
Did they love the idea, or was it?
So they were thinking. They said, okay, let us think about this, and then they came back and they said, okay, you can have a third, which was really, really, really generous, great. And. And here we are today.
Yeah, so just for people who have no context, like, few years later, your company was bought.
Yeah, so our company was called Meekan, which is in Hebrew, who is here. And we built an iOS version, and it didn't work out. And then we built another one for Android, which was totally different, just to test it. And that didn't work out. And then another one for Outlook, and it didn't work out. And these were all like traditional apps with buttons and everything. And then, like, this one day we said, if I had a personal assistant and I would want her to book a meeting, I would just say it in English. I don't want to learn all those complex buttons and pick from options and menus. I would just say, listen, I need to meet Ran next week for coffee, just do it. So why don't we do something that you will just tell it in English and it will just figure it out?
And this is before Alexa and all these types
before. Yeah. We were like the first commercial chatbot in Slack, I think. And again, we thought how complicated this would be. We'll just teach it like 100 sentences for a new meeting, and it will just understand everything. And so first I have to say, really, on the day we launched it, people suddenly got what we were trying to do. Because before that, we just had buttons. So you would say, okay, if you want your calendar to schedule something, you have to give it a time frame. You have to say, I want to meet someone next week, so we'll be able to narrow the options, right? So we would have a button for next week, and one for the weekend, and one for today, and one for ASAP. We had like this hive of 9 buttons that you had to pick from, and people didn't get it. They would like say, okay, where's the calendar? But where's the calendar? There was no calendar visible in the app. And when we said, look, this is Meekan, and he's now in your Slack team, and all you have to do is just tell him what you want, and it will happen. Oh, people really clicked into this, really, like, all the KPIs shot up, like, one day after we launched. We launched it on Product Hunt, and it was, like, the first place on that day, and one of the first place on that week. Like, really, people really loved it. We really loved the idea of, you just say something, and it will just happen. And again, we were really naive. We thought, this is, like, simple stuff. How many ways do you have to ask for a new meeting? 100 ways. This is like, wow, we covered everything and a little more. But there's, like 1 year later, we had like, I think 5,000 different sentences to start up a new meeting. And we knew that we were not even in the middle of getting all the sentences tagged and getting data. And
but what was your approach? It was obviously the first chatbot that you ever designed, right?
Yeah.
So what was that experience like? You coming from more visual type of design?
So I did have a little bit of experience doing a chatbot back in the IRC days.
Okay.
Of the beginning of the internet, everybody was talking. You could write like a little chatbots, little scripts that could, like if you have a game in your channel or something like that, you will run it. So this is the only thing I remembered from that you have to make sure it doesn't repeat itself. So if you say hello and he says hello, and you say how are you and he says hello, like if he says hello, then you immediately realize that you're talking to a bot, and the whole experience is ruined. So this is the one thing I remembered, that you have to write like 20 different versions for the same thing, so he won't repeat himself. That's like, this is the knowledge I came with to the war. And
right, because there's nowhere to even learn back at the time. Like how to design
there was no
chatbots.
books, and there was no
Okay.
And we figured the idea was, we want people to imagine that there's actually a physical bot behind the scenes, like a really an iron robot sitting there and typing for you, so you will actually think that you're talking to a robot. So I said, okay, we'll come up with a character. We wrote like a character sheet. We said, okay, this guy is really nerdy. He likes to quote from Big Lebowski. And this is like you write a persona, but the other way around. The persona is for your own product, not for the user, right? And he like really loves it when he gets a successful scheduling. He get like sexually aroused from getting a good meeting happening. And we had this, and we actually spoke to a guy from Hollywood, like that writes Hollywood shows, and we said maybe you could write some lines for us because you know how to do it. And we're like a small startup, and he wanted like a shitload of money, so he couldn't afford it. So he said, whatever, I'll write it. I'll just do it. How complicated can it be? And so all my dad jokes, all the jokes that I do to my kids, everything is inside. Everything is in there.
Did you have like, I'm just trying to imagine like physically how you do that. Do you have like a spreadsheet with all the lines? How do you even work on that?
I wish it was a spreadsheet. So when we began, there was like not too many lines. So we had like a YAML. It's like an XML file, and you have all the okay, before that, when we started, he only knew about starting new meetings, right? We said, this is a meeting bot, people will talk to him about meetings. Immediately you see that people say, you look at the analytics and you see people say, take me to the moon, marry me, I'm all alone here, help me out, like really talking to this. And all he says is, I can't understand. So we immediately started doing all kinds of small talk intents, right? So the engine that tries to figure out what the user said, tries to classify it into different intents. So our only intent was a new meeting at the beginning, so the conversation was really limited to meetings. So we started adding like compliments and insults.
How do you, by the way, I'm sorry for cutting you off, but how do you actually look at analytics for text? It's not like a graph that you can see. Is it just like how does the analytics?
It's just
look
a
like?
bunch of lines that you look into, and what you get is like what the engine thought the intent is.
Okay.
So you can make sure that you got the intent.
So it's
right.
categorized, and then you have no category, or I did not understand
So
the category.
the no category is actually the most interesting category. We call it out of scope. So we figure out that someone asked the bot for something that he can't do. So this one is the most interesting one because you have your users telling you what they would like the product to do without even asking them, right? So we had a lot of people asking for flights, for flight information, and we couldn't do it. We would see that people are asking for flight information. People are asking for, can you get lunch for this meeting or stuff? Because there's no buttons, there's no affordance, there's zero, nothing. So people will ask for anything.
So how do you limit the scope or?
So it takes some time, but you learn how to answer in a way that says, look, I can't do that, but here's something that I'm really good at, so maybe you can ask me.
Right.
Just do that. Don't do the other thing, right? And so it takes a lot of learning to figure out how to get the conversation right. And
how do you measure kind of like whether it's successful or not in terms of, good design? Like I know how to judge good design, when I see interface design, like visual design, but when it comes to chat, like what would you say is a good design? So
first of all, you look for your mission. So how quickly are you at scheduling meetings for people? So how many meetings are started and never end up in the calendar? How long does it take from the meeting to start?
Okay, so this is basically product KPIs type of thing.
Yeah. And then you have some KPIs that you only get with the chatbot, which is you can see like how many people are insulting it and how many people are complimenting it. So if more people are insulting, then there's a problem there, right? We had this one really at the beginning. Then people were insulting him much more than complimenting. And said, okay, there's a problem here. And we realized that people were trying to unsubscribe from the notifications because it tells you have a meeting in 10 minutes or stuff like that. And people don't want that sometimes. Actually, most of the people do want, like this is like the number one feature. But when people don't want it and they say, shut up. And he says, I don't understand, or something, he doesn't understand what you want. And they start, it escalates really quickly. They say, shut the fuck up, you stupid idiot. And then we had a bunch, 50 different sentences for shut up. So for unsubscribe, basically. So you would say shut up, and he would say, oh, I got you, I'm unsubscribing you from the notifications. And then see people say, oh, okay, thank you. And you see there's a flip in the line. Really, I can show you the graph because it's like it's in a company mythology, this graph. Because the moment we started adding the unsubscribe intent, we started letting people unsubscribe in creative ways. The moment that happened, you can see the insults going down and the compliments going up. And they say 2 weeks later, the trend flipped from more insults into more compliments just because of that, just because we caught on to that specific thing.
Do you think personality of the bot has anything to do with it? Or?
So I don't know because
was it something that you just said, oh, I like Big Lebowski, so let's do Big Lebowski quotes, or like the persona of the user is this type of person, so I think they how did you think about that? So
you have people when it's successful, it's very successful. People quote it on Twitter, and like it would take from Space Odyssey, right? It says, I'm afraid I can't do that, and it will say your name instead of Dave. In the movie, it's Dave. It said, I'm afraid I can't do that, Dave. And you see people writing in Twitter, they say, it says, I'm afraid I can't do that, Ran. And people say, oh my God, I never thought the bot would tell me that. It's like they recognize it. But we also get almost the same amount of people say, look, he's too chatty, he's talking too much, I just want him to do his job. So sometimes... So we try when it's coming to the happy path to make him. We try to make him as efficient as possible. But when you stray out to the chit chat, this is actually where the personality comes out. When he's not doing his job, this is where you can get creative and say, okay, just picking the right answer there will expose the personality of that of the bot. So I'm happy that we gave him personality, but I don't know I don't have a good answer to say if this is a good thing or a bad thing.
What do you think in terms of like, I think last year or maybe 2 years ago, there was like a huge talk about chatbots and how it's like the future of design is voice and because of all the Alexa and all these type of things and Siri. And there was like a huge interest in that in terms of designers thinking about the future of design. Now somehow, I don't know if I see this goes down or nobody talks about that as much.
Yeah, definitely.
What do you feel?
Definitely. I used to be called for... to talk in conferences and people wanted to interview me everywhere. Now it's all gone. All the hype is gone. And we see that people are now looking for where this product can give real value to people.
So it was a trend or a hype?
It was like a big gimmick, like let's take this app and make it a chatbot. So not everything is good for, package that's a chatbot, first of all. And second of all, there was this huge disillusionment because people thought that we have the technology to understand what people are saying, and we don't have this technology yet. Like natural language processing is like the final frontier of AI. When we crack this one, and we're actually making big strides this year. There's like, I don't know, just a few weeks ago there was
what happened?
So OpenAI, they
this is the Elon Musk.
Yeah, Elon Musk. Yeah. So this is a company, like a non-profit company that's supposed to say, we don't want Google and Facebook to have all the AI technology. We want to build something to give it out to everyone, to make sure like the field is level, that everyone has this access to the same technology. And they came up with this new algorithm. They call it GPT-2, which is like the old algorithm, but they like threw on it like, I don't know, hundreds of computers and servers and calculated everything. And it makes like generates really good readable text, which is like on the level that no algorithm made before that.
Okay.
So it was actually so strong that they said, for the first time, we're not releasing this to the public. We're going to wait like 6 months and see if people are talking about how to limit this technology. And so
what can you do with it?
So you can write, imagine that you're sending 1 million spam emails to people. You can write a specific spam for every 1 million of them. You can have like 1 million different emails saying around the same thing. Okay. Every one of them is written in a a little bit different words.
So we can't recognize that it's spam because it's a little
bit
different.
And you can recognize it's not human because it looks like human writing. It's totally coherent and it doesn't have world knowledge. It could say something like, I lit the fire when I was standing inside the lake, right? Because it doesn't know that fire doesn't light inside the water. So grammatically, everything will be coherent, but it doesn't make sense to a human if you read it. So, the next level would be to hook up some physics and some world knowledge and some, basic fact checking into this grammar thing, and then that's it. It's all gone. So I'm saying that we're making big strides in natural language processing, but we're still not in a way that a bot can just have a normal conversation with you and understand all the little nuances that you can ask for. So if you have a successful chatbot, it's always something that you will see it's really focused on a very narrow domain. We'll say, this is just for doing this one little specific thing.
So you can cover all the options within this specific thing.
Even then, you probably won't cover all the options because people just... And even if you cover all the options, comes in someone whose English is not so good.
Yeah.
And he writes like crazy English, and then the bot will not understand it. But the human might understand it, and the bot will not. So...
What do you think this means for designers? Like, do they need to develop new skills for that? Is that like... Where do you see this going?
Yeah, definitely, because first of all the focus is gone. So you don't have the, I would say, privilege of putting buttons as a discovery. So buttons are really good, not just for clicking them, but also telling the user what your application can do.
Right.
But you no longer have this. So we are seeing like Slack adding all kinds of different buttons and controls to what used to be like pure chat. Now it has like all kinds of drop downs and buttons to facilitate this. And this is what we see like half of it is good for interaction, and really the other half is just telling you what the bot can do, because there's no like really, when you look at Alexa, it's just a cylinder. You don't know what it does. It doesn't have any buttons. So you either ask for it anything in the world, or you're getting shut down and you're afraid to ask because you don't know what it does. And it could be scary. If it's working too good, it's scary. If it doesn't work too good, then it's crap. So
do you have Alexa? Did you give that?
Yeah, we have Alexa here. We're not using it for anything.
Yeah,
I'm sorry, Jeff. We're not using it for anything.
I know. I got it as a gift, and I had it in my office for a while. The only thing I used it was like, is it going to rain today? But apart from that, also that you're just too lazy to take out your phone. But I couldn't come up with any other thing to use it.
So and in Israel it never rains, so it's even for that it's not very useful.
Yeah, true.
Yeah, I see. We have one. I got one from Google also, so I put it at home to see what the kids will do. And it just took the plug from the toaster. We ended up plugging it out and putting the toaster back here. The toaster is so much useful because it makes toasts.
Yeah.
So I see people hooking up to music to listen to music, and if you have like a smart home, so you can tell it to close the windows.
Yeah, of course.
But I don't see. There's a big problem there with the retention because people just forget what it can do, and even if they try a new skill, they forget about it. And because up until recently, I think now it can, but up until recently, you couldn't initiate conversations. So you couldn't have reminders or things that will start the conversation. You were depending on the human side to start the conversation. And this is like a killer for retention because people don't come back and ask it. But if you would ask, if you would have a daily reason to remind your existence, you would do so much better. Just telling people, like for us, it's a good thing we are a calendar. We have an excuse to bug you every day to tell you have a meeting now. This is what your morning looks like. So this was lucky for us. Otherwise, retention would be a really big problem for chatbots all around. Really.
Do you think that because AI is definitely a thing that's as you said, and there's a lot of progress made in that. But besides chatbots and voice interfaces, how else is AI going to change like how we work as designers, or what do you think about that?
Yeah, so there's a huge change coming in, and I see it coming into tools everywhere, is that instead of starting from a blank page, which is what all designers used to do, remember the horror, you got a new project and you're standing in front of this is the day that you clean your house, right? That you do everything just not to start the project. You start procrastinating because so these days we're seeing them gone, because even today when you have a blank page, so you say, okay, I'll go to, either you go to Dribble or something, or you say, okay, my inspiration is coming from dolphins, so I'll talk to the dolphins or something. So, but you try to get something to get your juices going, right? And we're going to see a lot of tools coming in which are going to start the project for you, and not just start it, like put it in a whole level, which is it's almost ready, right? You'll say, okay, I'm doing a new site for a travel agency, right? Say, make me a site and you'll get a site for a travel agency.
But there was, do you know Grid AI, I think it was called, for a website, that promised to do that, and it was like, it did not work well.
Okay, but I think these are early experiments, but I think you can see, like, for example, Autodesk are really doing interesting work with that. So let's say you need to design something that the microphone will stand on. You would just say, look, it needs to support 5 kilograms and it has 2 legs. That's it. You draw 2 circles, and then you can see the computer start growing all kinds of structures.
This is for like product design, like physical product design.
Yeah, and you see the computer start growing, and it grows like, I don't know, a million of them, a million different. Most of them like are looking like alien shapes and like weird, not human design stuff, but they're actually made of less material, and they do exactly what you asked for. It's like support the weight, and it has 2 legs, whatever you wanted. This is what you're getting, but you're getting like a million of them. So your problem now, instead of starting with a black page, is how would you find the good one inside the million of the.
And how do you define the problem to begin with, maybe?
How you define? Yeah, but the problem is going from creation into curation. This is what. So
That's
we see quite a lot of tools that are coming out. There's there was a lot of noise about NVIDIA. They had a new algorithm. It's called the Style Gun, and it generates faces of people. And you look at the face. It's not a real person, but you can't tell. Like I have a talk and I show it to people and I say here are 6 people. Only one of them are real. Only one of them is real, and no one ever guesses the real one because I chose a weird guy for the real. But so everyone thinks the computer made that one. This one looks. They look like ordinary people with ordinary faces that they have a name and a history, and you can say, okay, this guy is from South America and this guy is a farmer, but they are not real. They don't exist. They only exist in the mind of the algorithm. And so imagine you have to come up with a presenter for your campaign. You just have a million presenters ready for you. You will just have to navigate your way inside this big haystack to find your little diamond in there. So we're going to see tools that are going to help you navigate the millions of options instead of creating something from scratch. Okay. So, I mean, this is a problem and this is a problem because too many options are also really, it's stressful.
Yeah. Interesting. Super interesting. Do you have any resources if somebody wants to start learning about either chatbots, AI, personality, all these type of things that you had to learn on your own? Now I assume maybe there's more. Yeah, resources.
So there's tons of Medium articles.
Okay.
There's an Amir Schwartz book it's really for beginners though, and I'm not sure it's up to date even. So
around what?
About chatbots. He used to be developer relations in Slack.
Okay.
So he wrote a book about chatbots. So this is, if you are really an absolute beginner, it might be a good. You need to check that it's up to date because the technologies are really changing really quick. I would say the best thing you could do is just go into one of the platforms. So it could be Google's Dialogflow, or it's probably the best one right now, or Chatfuel, which is really, really simple to use because there's no code done.
Those are platforms to create chatbots?
Yeah, so Chatfuel is something you can create a chatbot in like 5 minutes, and you can really test your concept. Really, really. There's also one. It's called Bot Society. Bot Society is also good for prototyping bots. So really quickly you can start do a conversation and see what it looks like, and actually let people play around with your prototype and see. You will be surprised immediately how they are going to do things that you never thought. They're going to take it like in
so it's really
good
for
ways.
User testing. And stuff.
And you have to figure out if you want to have a chatbot which is like only buttons. So do you want to eat breakfast? Yes, no.
Yeah,
so
Facebook type of thing.
So this is more like an IVR, right? When you call your service on the phone and they say dial 1 for this. So there's no way to jump. The whole idea about chatbot is that you can ask for something and cut through all the menus and say,
just give me that.
Yeah, I have a problem with my hard drive. Instead of, is it with your computer? Okay, is it the drive?
Yeah.
Is it? So you can really cut through in one sentence. But then you have facing the difficulties of understanding what the user is asking for. So the challenge is much larger over there. So the only way is really to just, if you have a good idea of what to do, and I see some really nice chatbots that I'm using up till today. I have one that is looking for apartments for me. So
in Israel?
Yeah, in Israel.
In Slack or not?
No, it's in Facebook Messenger.
Okay.
And he sends me new apartments every day. There's actually humans underneath there. So if you say something weird, you say that.
They'll get a notification and they'll answer you manually.
And you see that he's not answering it immediately, but like 5 minutes later, but you get a good answer. So someone is sitting behind the console there. So nice. This is also a way to handle things if you're not, if you have 100 million users, then it's not very good. But as long as you're a small startup, you can just do that. And really, so you can just start working, collecting, what people are responding to, what goes wrong, what breaks up, and you can really quickly build really in a few days you can build a good prototype that you can actually go out and do something with it. later when things get complicated, you're gonna have to hire a developer eventually, I guess. But these days, you can really build a very good prototype really quickly and just take it out there. Really launch it into one of the platforms, into Slack or Facebook Messenger or Viber or whatever, Telegram. Quite quickly, you can build something and just see if it works or not, if you like it or not.
Cool, Matty.
It's good
awesome,
times.
Awesome. Good times for the chatbots. Cool, Matty. If somebody wants to reach out to you or look up to you on the internet, where can they find you?
Yeah, probably in Facebook.
On Slack.
Yeah.
I have
Slack,
a bot.
Yeah, Slack. One of the things about Slack, it's not very inviting for outsiders.
Right.
It's like it's for your group and you're not talking to anyone on the outside.
Yeah.
So it's a good thing if you want to work, not very good thing if you want your product to be viral, because nobody's going to see it except the group that's downloading it. Yeah, so find me on Facebook.
On Facebook.
I'm always
all
there.
Right.
Yeah.
Cool. All right. Thank you so much for coming on the show.